Okay, so let's get housekeeping out of the way. Support me on Patreon if you can. Follow me on Xiaohongshu, Blue Sky, on any of the other socials. I will put all the links down below. And let's get into today's video. So in today's video, I wanted to continue talking about Marina Burik's work, A Virtualized World of Capitalism. Just as I said before, it is not available in English. Unfortunately, it has not been translated. I do still highly recommend you download the book and maybe run it through some artificial intelligence, maybe run it through some translation apps, because I think this work is truly a breakthrough work. I think that we as a movement, as an international movement, can really gain a lot from this piece of work. She does give a lot of advice later in the book, but we, the comrades and I, we just got to the point where she talks more about the fragmented individuals and fragmented collectives or fragmented communities, but she talks not only about the symptoms of this and how this is going to be inevitable under capitalism, she also talks about art and how it applies to fragmented individuals. And I find this specific area of study to be absolutely important, because I already talked about art from Vygotsky's standpoint a little bit, because I haven't read much Vygotsky, unfortunately. He's still on my list. I'm going to get to you. You're not going anywhere. I'm going to get to you. So she also talked about how she is using Vygotsky in her methodology. She's also using a lot of his students and colleagues. She uses Ilyenkov as well. She also uses Frankfurt School, which I was pleasantly surprised by, because I know that a lot of more hardcore Marxists, they don't really like to dabble in Frankfurt School. She specifically mentioned Adorno, and she also talked about how she's also using a lot of postmodernist postulates and concepts, and she talks about how many of them were pretty good at describing the superficial levels of their society, but then she states that they did not necessarily dig deep enough in order to find out the core principles, the core contradiction of the times. So she particularly mentions Baudrillard and how his studies started 60 years ago or so. So this is not a new thing. She's building up on all of this previous thought, which I think is essential for us. If we want to learn more of the truth, then we need to use any and all data that's available to us, obviously with some limitations. But let's get into the essence of what she's saying about the connection between art and fragments. I already talked about fragmented individuals and fragmented collectives in some of my videos before. I will probably just include some links down below so you can find them easily. But I already talked about what fragmented individual and fragmented collectives or communities are, so I'm not going to go into depth again. But the connection to art here is very, very important, because when you look at the world of art and you look at how what is created currently is not actual art, it is just an industry of sensations. And she distinguishes feelings from sensations. She talks about how the modern art is not meant to evoke deep human feelings. She talks about how modern art is supposed to evoke the sensation that may or may not grow into a feeling. And she talks about how the feeling, the human bodily experience of a feeling, is essential to a full human life. It is essential to truly be human, to connect to each other on a sensual level. She talks about the unity of thought and sense and feelings. She talks about how Hegel even talked about how we cannot separate these and we have to experience them all in some tandem, and that when we put one above the other, then we are going to lose out on some of the essential important experiences, and then we are going to therefore dehumanize ourselves in a sense, and not be able to become one with the social man, meaning that we're not going to be able to live a happy and fulfilled life. And going back to the industries, the modern industries of cinematography, movies, any kind of art, music included, she talks about how most of the modern art is destructive in nature, and she's not talking about deconstructive art. She talks about how many of the modern tendencies in art are self-destructive, because they are so overexploited to produce this sensation, this immediate reaction in the body, that artists don't really have the time, the means to explore what it truly means to be human, what it truly means to be a musician, what it truly means to be an artist. And you are left with these very superficial pieces of art that may evoke a reaction, that may give you something to feel, but it is not going to be a complete experience. So she talks about how in order to experience the full scope of a feeling or an emotion, you will have to start with some kind of an affect or a sensation. She talks about how feeling and sensation in this one particular moment, they overlap and they're one. But then she talks about how the feeling is something that goes deeper and it is universal. It is a universal experience for everyone. But sensation, she says, it just stays here. It's superficial. So the feeling keeps going down deeper, and it expands, and it makes a person a better version of themselves. It makes the person understand, realize a part of the truth about themselves and the world, about their connection to the world. But a sensation is just here and kind of dissipates, and that's it. It's very surface level. It is not that deep. This is what a lot of folks like to say nowadays. Yes, some art can be not that deep. It can be just entertainment, but ultimately the role of the art is to tap into that universal humanity that all of us possess, whether we like it or not. It is very similar to what many people experience as spirituality. The experience of art is not only going to enrich you, it is going to help you understand all the material connection of the world, because the feeling, the sensation Marina is repeating after many of the other Marxist philosophers, this sensation is also an attribute of substance. So substance has the attribute of thinking, of realizing its role, its connection to the rest of the world. And also the substance has this experience of embodying the reality. And in order to be able to embody the reality, you have to have these deep sensorial and emotional experiences that can be evoked with art. So art is a very, very necessary component of humankind, of human experience. It is absolutely needed for us to transfer all kinds of different data to each other, which I talked about before some time ago. I talked about how art is a form of communication. You want to share with others something that you cannot put into words. So with Marina's arguments, I think my own argument is kind of reinforced to a degree, but it is adding so much more. It is adding the fact that true art can be very easily recognized because it's going to affect you very deeply. And again, I'm not saying that every single piece of art has to have you sitting here just wrecking your mind, thinking about the meaning of life and what it is the universe is trying to communicate to you. No. But if you do not have this art experience, then you're really lacking in some aspects, some areas of your life. And truly, many of the modern pieces of art, they're not actual art. They're just a form of entertainment in order to create more fragments. Because when we have more fragments, then we're going to consume more. Because some of these fragments may be, oh, I like anime or whatever other genre. I just picked anime off the top of my head. Okay, I have nothing against or for it specifically. It can be an art form. But if you're just an anime enjoyer, you're going to watch yourself some anime, buy some paraphernalia, and that's it. Maybe you'll talk to people, you'll share some of your thoughts, maybe you'll write some fan fiction, whatever. And it's fine. It is fine to have such experiences, but it is not necessarily going to change you. Now, some people do claim that their anime habits really changed them, and that is maybe of interest to examine because, yeah, just as I said before, some anime may be art. But if you're just on the surface level, you're just receiving these sensations, this is not going to be very helpful to you. That does not mean you should not have it, okay? You can still have your snacks and your chips, but you still have to have full meals. Having a true art experience is like having a full, great, nutritious meal that was thoroughly cooked, that was created artfully and craftily. And it is essential to have full meals, to have a healthy body. Same goes to art. You can't have your art for art's sake, your art for entertainment's sake, but you also have to have your full meals. You have to have those experiences that truly shake you. When you watch a movie or you listen to a piece of music or you look at a painting or you read a book or a poem, and it really makes you feel something that is very hard to describe with words. It's not just on the surface level. It's not just goosebumps. It's not just your hair standing on the entire of your body. It is the experience of you touching something that is bigger than yourself. And that is what a lot of people refer to as spirituality. But people who look at the world from a material standpoint, they can still have the same experiences because these are the experiences of the matter, of the substance. It is all included in the code of the substance. You can have these very deep connecting experiences and you can still understand that this is not coming from some kind of a higher power. It is not someone else making you feel this. It is your own body reacting in a very specific way because we have evolved over many, many thousands of years to be this form of a substance. So we have all these beautiful attributes of a substance that we should engage with, that we should experience. And ultimately, when we are able to embody art and embody this connection with the rest of matter, the rest of substance, we become much more helpful to the movement. We become much more open, much more loving, much more kind. We become better versions versions of ourselves, no matter how banal that sounds. That's what we become. We become truly, fully human through all of these amazing experiences that art can give us. So I really hope that more people created actual, real, true art nowadays. But unfortunately, capitalism creates such conditions where it's very hard to survive. If you're a true, passionate artist, if you just want to create art to share your truth with the world, to share the part of the truth with the world that is available to you, to connect to other people and to have this very, very human experience together with others, the conditions, the odds are going to be against you if you're such an artist. It's very unfortunate. It's very sad. But this is why we want to overcome capitalism, because we cannot have truly human experiences while we're still selling our bodies and our life for meager coins. So let me know what you think. I definitely want to keep this conversation going. I hope you have a great day today. Consider supporting me on Patreon. Do take care of yourself and your community first. Subscribe to me on all the social medias, on TikTok, on Xiaohongshu, on Blue Sky, on my podcast, and I'll talk to you sometime later.